The day I got a job offer, Cindy, my cousin's wife, announced she was pregnant. Just as the whole family was celebrating, Cindy suddenly said, "Now that Sierra has found a job, and I'm pregnant, it's going to be inconvenient to live together once the baby arrives. I think Sierra should move out," Cindy said with a cold expression. "She's already found a job, and now that I'm pregnant, it's going to be inconvenient after the baby is born." The room instantly became silent, and Uncle Mark and Aunt Linda's faces grew awkward. Cindy, though usually quiet, had never spoken to me with such a cold tone. I had always thought she was nice, so I responded kindly, "There shouldn't be any inconvenience. I'm not a guy, and when the baby arrives, I can even help take care of it. When the baby comes, there won't be enough room for everyone." "How could that be?" I said, trying to be considerate. "We can clean up the attic floor and make room for your little family. There will be more than enough space." This estate house was large, with several rooms on each floor. We had been living comfortably on the second floor for years. Cindy shot me an inexplicable glare. Aunt Linda chimed in to reassure her. "Cindy, don't worry. We'll make sure neither you nor the baby is uncomfortable." Cindy wasn't finished. "When I have the baby, I'll be recovering and won't be able to move around or dress properly. It's just not right to have an outsider in the house." Suddenly, her expression softened again. "Sierra, I'm not trying to force you out, but you've been living here for so many years. Isn't it time you moved on?" Seeing my face darken, Cindy added, "Your parents passed away early. When you were in college and grad school, my in-laws covered all your living expenses. Nowadays, young women are all about independence. It's time you learned some self-respect and started living on your own." I looked around at Uncle Mark and Aunt Linda. Uncle Mark, who had been silent for a long time, finally slammed his hand on the table, yelling at Cindy, "That's enough. You're getting out of line. Jason, take your wife back to your room." Jason quickly stepped in to defend her. "Dad, Cindy's pregnant. Why are you yelling at her? Besides, she's not wrong." Uncle Mark lost it. He slammed his glass down and shouted at Jason, "Then you can get out too." Cindy wasn't wrong. My parents had passed away when I was young. My dad, Steve, was a company owner, and my mom, Mary, was an architect. 7 years ago, they were in a car accident, and both became comatose. That year, I was about to take my college entrance exams, juggling between school and the hospital. It quickly became too much, and I started thinking about hiring a nurse. When Uncle Mark found out, he came to me and said, "Sierra, you don't need to hire a nurse. Aunt Linda and I can take care of them." I wasn't sure about it. Uncle Mark had always been kind to me, but taking care of one person in a coma was already hard, let alone two. "It's no trouble," he said, tears welling in his eyes. "They're my sister and brother-in-law after all. No one will care for them better than family. Plus, Mrs. Hudson, who shared a hospital room with my parents, told me some nurses don't take care of patients properly. Bed sores, neglect." It wasn't uncommon. After thinking it over, I agreed, and paid Uncle Mark and Aunt Linda triple the normal rate to take care of my parents. They did a great job. Every time I visited, there was no smell or mess on them. They looked after my parents for over a year before both passed away. I went to college in another city. Some people suggested I sell the estate house, but I couldn't. This house had been my parents' marital home. Every tree and room designed by my mother. I wanted someone to take care of the house while I was away. When Uncle Mark heard this, he volunteered. And so, they moved in, and stayed for years. When I started grad school, Uncle Mark and Aunt Linda urged me to move back home, saying they could help look after me. After today's confrontation with Cindy, I finally understood why she had been distant with me all along. After Jason and Cindy left, I asked Uncle Mark, "Does Cindy not know about the house?" Aunt Linda smiled nervously. "That's my fault. I told Cindy and her family that the house was ours. You know Jason's family insisted they wouldn't marry him off unless he had a house. But you know we don't have money, so we had to say the house was ours." I could understand that. Uncle Mark had never been responsible. My parents had arranged several jobs for him, but he never stuck with any of them, always relying on my family's support to start his own. But in recent years, Uncle Mark and Aunt Linda had been good to me. I gently said, "You can only hide the truth for so long. It's better to explain this to Cindy sooner rather than later. If she really needs a house, I have another one I could let them live in." Uncle Mark replied, "Sierra, you've done more than enough for us. Don't worry, I would never take advantage of you." Hearing that, tears welled up in my eyes. "Uncle Mark, we're family. Don't say that. Without Uncle Mark, I would have had no home." With Uncle Mark's assurance, I didn't think much more about the matter. For the next few days, I saw Cindy around the house. She was either giving me cold looks or making passive-aggressive comments while watching TV. "Some people really have no shame, living in someone else's house like it's their own. You can't even kick them out," she would say, clearly directed at me. "Certain people think they're some kind of pampered princess, like everyone adores them. But honestly, people can't stand her." I kept quiet, hoping Uncle Mark and Aunt Linda would handle it. I had just started my new job and was swamped with work. I often stayed late at the office, only returning home long after everyone had gone to bed. One night, I came home earlier than usual, but it was already dark. The house was silent, as everyone had gone to sleep. I quietly made my way upstairs, wanting nothing more than to collapse on my bed. But the moment I lay down, I heard a sharp scream. "Ouch!" I jumped up, and the room lights came on. There, lying in my bed was Cindy, dressed in her nightgown, staring at me in shock. Uncle Mark and Aunt Linda rushed in. "What happened?" Uncle Mark asked. I tried to stay calm. "Cindy, why are you in my bed?" Cindy's face turned cold. "This is my house. I can sleep wherever I want." I frowned, confused and irritated. Aunt Linda pulled me out of the room, trying to smooth things over. "Sierra, I forgot to tell you, Cindy moved into your room." "When?" "This afternoon. She said she wanted to enjoy the sunlight through the large window." My room, which my mother had designed especially for me, had a huge floor-to-ceiling window. When the sun rose, the room would be filled with light. In the winter, it was the warmest and coziest spot in the house. I was upset. They had moved her into my room without even asking me. Aunt Linda noticed my displeasure and softened her tone even further. Sierra, I'm sorry. We didn't ask for your permission, but Cindy's pregnant, and her morning sickness is really bad. She said the sunlight makes her feel better. I had friends who were pregnant. I knew pregnancy could make women act strangely because of hormonal changes. Uncle Mark came out looking frustrated. What is going on here? Everyone gets pregnant, but no one behaves like this. She can't just take over your room. Cindy needs to move out of there. I quickly intervened. It's fine, Uncle Mark. Uncle Mark had always been protective of me, no matter what happened. I didn't want to cause tension between him and Aunt Linda, so I said, really, it's okay. I'll just sleep in another room. Cindy's pregnant, and she needs the space more. Uncle Mark hesitated, looking conflicted. But this is unfair to you. I smiled. We're family. It's not a big deal. Besides, where did you move my things? Aunt Linda replied. We put everything in the room on the far west side. The west room was the smallest in the house. It didn't get much sunlight and had just one small window. It was originally meant for the housekeeper. Moving from the best room to the worst one didn't sit well with me, but seeing Uncle Mark's troubled expression made me let it go. The day I signed my first big contract at work, I stopped by the house in the afternoon to grab some documents. I thought about asking Aunt Linda if she'd like to celebrate with me over dinner. As I approached their bedroom door, I overheard Aunt Linda speaking to Uncle Mark. What are we going to do? Cindy says if we don't get Sierra out of the house soon, she'll never let us see our grandson. We just need to wait a little longer, Uncle Mark replied. Wait for what? Cindy hasn't even let Jason sleep in the bed these last few days. Aunt Linda was panicking. And what about the medicine? We've been giving it to Sierra for over 3 years, and she's still perfectly healthy. When is she going to die? The hairs on my neck stood up. What medicine? Aunt Linda wanted me dead. It suddenly made sense. Since moving back home, my health had deteriorated. I used to be so resilient, but now a simple breeze left me feeling feverish. I'd been suffering from nosebleeds and losing hair for no apparent reason. How can you not see it working? Uncle Mark revealed another horrifying secret. How do you think her parents died? We drugged them to death. A chill ran down my spine. No wonder my parents' conditions had suddenly worsened when they were previously stable. Aunt Linda sighed. Should we increase the dosage? Uncle Mark thought for a moment before nodding. That might work. Her parents lasted a year before they died. It's been 3 years for Sierra, so no one will suspect anything if she goes now. We should have just had someone run her over years ago. Instead, we've dragged this out, and now she's almost spent all her parents' inheritance. What are you worried about? It's all going to be ours eventually. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My mind went blank. Uncle Mark's kindness had all been an act. They'd been poisoning me this entire time. And my parents' deaths, were they truly accidents? I stumbled downstairs in a daze, passing through the living room, where Cindy was watching TV. Sierra, she called out in an unusually friendly tone. Come over here for a moment. I was still in shock, but I managed to respond. Do you need something, Cindy? I've been thinking, she said, her voice sickly sweet. It's not right to kick you out now that you've just started working. What's going on? Before I could figure out her intentions, she continued. We're not really family after all. Jason is already supporting the entire household. Since you found a job, you should help out. I think it's only fair for you to start paying $10,000 a month for living expenses. You'd have to pay even more if you were renting somewhere else. So, that's her game. I smiled coldly. That's perfectly fair, Cindy, but I guess you didn't know this estate is actually mine. Cindy froze, staring at me in disbelief. What are you talking about? That's impossible. It's true, I replied. Not just the house, but all the expenses around here. Food, utilities, everything, have been paid by me. Before I moved back in, Uncle Mark had been taking care of the estate and would request maintenance money every month. It was always something. The lawnmower had broken, or the walls needed repainting. As a student, I didn't know much about these things, so I gave him whatever he asked for. Since I returned, I'd taken on all the household expenses. Thinking back, I realized I needed to check the finances more closely. You're lying. Cindy's voice was shrill, as Uncle Mark and Aunt Linda entered the room, looking surprised to see me. Aunt Linda was the first to speak. Sierra, why are you home so early today? Before I could answer, Cindy pointed at me and said, Mom, she's claiming this house belongs to her. Is that true? Both Uncle Mark and Aunt Linda's faces darkened. Aunt Linda quickly tried to cover it up. No, Cindy, she's just joking. She shot me a warning glance, but I ignored her. Instead, I pulled the house deed from my bag and tossed it onto the coffee table.